If you have ever poured your heart into a launch only to hear silence from your list, you are not alone. I work with creative entrepreneurs who are incredible at what they do, but struggle to turn that magic into sales. Together, we fix the gaps in your emails, we look at what's missing in your sales pages, we map out and refine your ads, and look at the overall strategy to see where those leaks in your business bucket are. So it's your voice and your marketing touch points that become your most powerful sales tool. And I totally get it, because I've worked with clients who have been exactly where you are. You're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're juggling an entire business on your own, and you don't know where to put your attention, where you will get the biggest return on investment, and your sales don't match the effort you're putting in. Alternatively, your business is growing and doing quite well, but you're struggling to get to that next level because you're just stretched so thin that you can't add any more tasks to your to-do list or step away to take the time to have a look at the bigger picture and work on a new offer. For me, I spent 4 years in a really, really demanding fashion degree, which I hear a lot of my clients also talk about who come from that background. I was convinced it would set me up for success. I really wanted to have my own business, and instead of landing a dream job at the end of my degree, I ended up super burnt out in hospital and in bed for about 8 weeks, questioning everything about what my future career would look like. At university, I was constantly stressed out and burnt out, as was the rest of the cohort. I wasn't an outlier. I was pulling endless all-nighters, trying to complete crazy final collection. I was working 2 to 3 jobs to pay for all the uni expenses, all the materials, my rent, my bills, and I was freelancing for magazines on the side. So instead of going out on weekends like a typical 20-year-old would, I was at home hand sewing or beading till 3 or 4 in the morning. I would be torn down in class in front of a cohort by teachers who I didn't even admire and whose future I didn't want. And even when I would go to my mum's house and she would ask me about how my studies were going, it would set me off into a pool of tears. So I realized that this dream fashion design job that I always dreamt of to work in Europe meant running on a hamster wheel and being in corporate with absolutely no life, being burnt out like I am now. When I was towards the end of my degree, another aha moment I had was when an alumni came in to speak to us. He was super successful. He was working at a top menswear designer in New York. But when he spoke about his job, it wasn't so glamorous. He was stressed, had no time for himself, and most of his ideas were dismissed and thrown out by the big boss. That's when the penny dropped for me, and I realized that that is not the life I envisioned for myself. I wanted to work on my own terms, to be free, to travel, to run my own schedule, to be able to sit in a cafe on a Tuesday afternoon and just enjoy the sun, and eventually raise my kids on my terms and not have to put them in childcare full time. So if you're a creative founder, a coach, or a course creator who's poured your soul into building something really special or something that fits around your lifestyle, yet the results still don't match the effort, or you're doing so many things that you could basically be stuck in a corporate job working the same hours, this is for you. Maybe you're tired of second guessing what to say, or you're launching over and over and refining your course, it's just not sticking, or you're just spending so much time on your marketing every week that you don't have time to work on that new program that's been on your to-do list for the last year and a half. I know that pain, and in this video I'm going to talk you through the turning points that changed everything for me in my business, from burnout to building a copywriting business that helps creatives sell in a genuine, authentic way, using story and experiences from your own life instead of using sleazy marketing tactics. For me, I grew up absolutely loving everything creative. I was constantly drawing little pictures of models, writing little books and stories, and making up businesses and making my younger brother work in them. Like many of you, I was very entrepreneurial by heart, and I thought that success meant credentials. So I followed the traditional path. I enrolled in the most competitive fashion program in the country. I pushed really hard. I thought that the harder I pushed, the harder I hustled, the better the outcome, the better the dream job I will land in the end. But by the time I graduated, I really wasn't celebrating. I was so sick, I was hospitalized and just completely disillusioned with the industry that I thought I loved. Followed every rule, I ticked every box, I submitted all my assignments, and I still felt like I had nothing to show for it. I didn't feel like I was building a career, I just felt like I was surviving. And that moment when I graduated made me realize I wasn't trained to think like a founder. I was trained to follow instructions, to cross off briefs, to submit things that were put in front of me instead of creating something new. And if I wanted a life of creative freedom, I needed to do things differently. Once I recovered, I worked in retail for 6 months. I saved up my money, sold my car, and went traveling solo overseas. It was amazing. It was just what I needed at that time. And after traveling solo, I landed a job at an amazing accelerator program in Berlin and moved there. I didn't know exactly what I wanted at that stage. I was still recovering, but I knew that it wasn't in the university degree that I just left behind. I got stuck in Berlin by choice in a really great way. I fell in love with the city, the creativity, and the edginess and openness of the people there. I worked in a whole bunch of different companies, with early stage startups to creative agencies, purpose-driven nonprofits, and I watched really tiny teams build real businesses. And for the first time, I saw the back end of entrepreneurship in action, and I loved it. I celebrated as a unicorn startup I was with in the time, locked in millions and founded in funding, and absolutely blew up overnight. Within working in that space, what I saw and what stood out to me over and over again was that the founders I worked with, they had really brilliant ideas, but they couldn't explain them in a way that resonated with their target audience. So their website sounded off, their emails were really spammy or bloated, their launches were not working because the product wasn't wrong, but the message wasn't sitting right. And when I was working with them, I could just see how naturally it came to me to help them. And that's when it really clicked. I was already freelancing for magazines, writing a lot, already doing my own research and studying in marketing. That's around the time COVID happened. I ended up being back home in Australia at the time for Christmas break, and I stayed. Everything went into a crazy lockdown for nearly an entire year, and I used that time to really invest in myself and my own learning. That was the first time I had really stopped and asked myself, what do I want? How do I want my future, my life to look like? And I knew that this was the moment to go all in myself and create my business. So I dove into studying. I did a diploma in UX design to really understand that user psychology and behavior, because I could see that was something really missing in a lot of the brands and companies I was working for. And I studied digital marketing and really specific like copywriting courses, listening to podcasts, reading, just absorbing as much as possible. And not even because I had to, I loved it. It was so fascinating and so interesting. And as I started applying it to my clients' businesses, I could really see the difference it was making. When it came to writing, it honestly wasn't new for me. I'd been journaling, blogging, ghostwriting, writing pitches and marketing material for years. I just came to that conclusion where I realized that I could use words to help businesses make more money. And I could see that there was a system behind it. It wasn't just writing. I was able to connect the dots between messaging, trust, and sales. When one client said to me, I don't even check the emails you write, I trust you, I realized that words, they weren't just my strength, they were my strategy. And because it came quite naturally to me, I was able to lean into that more and take on a really empathetic approach to my work through storytelling and really being able to bring out somebody's natural language processing and voice to make their business sound like them, to make it sound more human. A lot of that realization also came after I had a really difficult pregnancy where I was basically sick the entire time and had other outside things going on as well. We were stuck in lockdown, had moved cities to escape a lockdown, got stuck in the worst floods in the century, had a baby. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Because I don't want to put my daughter into childcare, I want to raise her, want to be there for her. And that's when I got really crystal clear about this is who I can help the best and this is how I help them. It was just really motivating, especially when I had my daughter, to say like, this is why I'm doing it, this is for her. And as my clients grew and I was able to be more selective, the results kept increasing and I loved it. It was my escape, especially in the first couple of years of my daughter's life. It was a way for me to still be me and not just a mum who's doing a side hustle. That's when things really grew, and I was helping coaches, creators, consultants not just sound better but sell better. And I watched their cold lists when not clicking at all come back to life. Then I saw them increase launch revenue with email campaigns and able to write assets for their new offers that were just, selling through the back end of the emails. And I just kept saying, you don't need to sound louder, you just need to sound more like you. And it's that human connection. When somebody gets to know you as a person, they feel like you're a friend that they're connecting with. That's when they want to buy from you into your business. Today, I transitioned to working with service-based founders in the creative space who already have an audience and helping them leverage that audience in a better way to get you to the next level in your business. Because the problem is probably not your offer. Your voice isn't too soft. You don't need to make like crazy dancing videos on Instagram or TikTok. You're just saying the right things in the wrong way or at the wrong time in the wrong format. What I do is help creatives like you build welcome flows that actually convert and build trust with your audience to set up like a really healthy long-term buying relationship with them, help you write launch emails for a new course or offer that you have that actually sound like you. They're personal, they have heart and soul in them, but at the same time, they're written in a really strategic way that converts. And I'll help you reposition your offer and sales page and ads so it lands with the right people. Often it's the 1 or 2% of tweaks, the really little difference makes a really big impact on your business and getting you to the next level. On top of that, if you've been doing this yourself this whole time, it's exhausting. I know it's very, very exhausting. You didn't go into business to get burnt out. You came to started your own business to have the freedom and flexibility to work on your own terms and to be that director, to work on the high level strategic things of what's next in your business. And you deserve to do that. So you don't need to keep doing all these things all the time. You just need a better plan. So if you are sick of doing it all and you're saying, yes, this is me, take it as your sign that you don't need extra certifications. You don't need to do an extra course. You don't need to pre-write emails for the next year or do a live every day for the algorithm. You just need to own your story and structure your messaging and your marketing around what actually moves people. People buy from people. So I encourage you to get raw, to get honest, to get authentic with your audience and start sharing why you do what you do, and the conversations and conversions will follow. I call this the revenue engine, and it's a messaging system that blends your natural voice with strategy and buyer psychology to create copy and messaging that doesn't just sound good, it sounds like you and it sells. If you're tired of doing it all and wondering what to say or why your launch didn't land, I can help you fix that. Please get in touch. You can book a call with me to see how I can help you, or download my free guide called How to Hire a Copywriter Swipe File to look at how you can work with a copywriter and what kind of red and green flags to look out for when you do.